Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. Well, we're going over here today. We have two spot welders. These are fusion welders that basically sends a current through the metal and welds the metal together. We have a newer style one that I picked up at Princess Auto a little while ago, and we have this old one I've got a long time. This one here, I think, dates back to the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. But we're going to go over the two of these here now, and we're going to talk about what you can do with these little welders. Stick around. All right, what we got here is basically, it's just a cheap spot welder, a fusion welder. Basically, it fuses metal together. It's a little Pro Point. I picked it up at Princess Auto. This one here is a 221. You can get them for 110. I don't think they'll be as powerful, but they'd be great. I think for doing thinner sheet metal, because I think that the 221 on thin sheet metal will actually burn holes in it if you don't watch it. It comes, the only thing it don't come with is the plug. So you got to put your own plug on and pick that up, and I got that straightened away. But it's a simple little device. It's just two copper leads that have little tips put on it that screw onto it. Very simple, okay? They just screw onto it like so. And just a regular 9/16 wrench to tighten them up. And then all you do is you turn around and you conduct metal when you close them up this way here. Okay, when you close two of them up on top of that, put a piece of metal in between them, it'll actually conduct metal. There's a little switch here, a return switch. You can push it either way, and that activates it. You turn it, let go of it, turn it, let go of it. And that's all it is. And this here adjusts the height of it, the way you go up and down in order to get the metal, okay? Now, the thing with it is, as you can see, these are not lining up. They need to be adjustable, okay? Up here, there's a couple of screws. These here slide in and out, you turn left to right. You got to make sure that these two tips meet each other, okay? And they actually touch in the middle. Because sometimes the problem you're going to have is you're going to end up burning holes and stuff because nothing's lining up right. So that has to be adjusted. I had this set up a different way for another one, because they just come with a bunch of these different tips. I went and bought extras because I'm modifying some for the other machine. The thing I found with these here, they come extremely pointy. You look at that there. It's extremely, you see how pointy that is? I think that's a very small spot weld. It's probably good for small projects. If you're doing ornaments and stuff like that, it's great for that. But anything in the car racket, to me, I like having something a lot bigger. And I modified a couple of them right here, as you can see. I got them rounded. If you compare it to the other one, there's the two of them there. Right, I rounded this one off. I find it better for doing automotive stuff. It basically gives you a nicer spot weld than it do with one of these here. You can do it with them, but I don't recommend them for like the automotive stuff. Very easy to burn a hole with them there because you got such a small point that you're concentrating heat. This here puts the heat out over a larger area, which works a lot better. So it's just a matter, all I did was just file that down, and then I rounded it off the edge of it because I didn't want no, look, I don't like these sharp edges like it's on these here. This here got a bit of a sharp edge on it. And I find that there is the hot spot, and that's where she's going to burn the most. So that's all I did. So I'm going to swap these out, change these out here now for them ones, and it should line up there. As you can see now, two of them line up better the way I got that set up there now. Now there's adjustment here as well. You can adjust the handle for how far distance apart and whatnot that you want to have the tension on it. But it needs to have a bit of tension on it to hold the metal together. If you have it so there's a gap there and you try to weld it, it's very hard because it needs to conduct electricity through the two of these in order for it to work. These have been used. You can use them a lot in rocker panels. places where you can get into here with. Other than that, it's kind of hard to use. There's a couple of little tricks you can do with them to basically make stuff out of. You can just have it so that it conducts electricity through one side of it. And basically doing door skins and stuff like that. I'm going to experiment with it here now and show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to do a couple of little tests here now and show you all about this. So basically, all this thing does is you got two pieces of steel, you want to put two of them together and you want to weld them together. So you basically put them in there like that, you push down on the lever and flick the switch and that'll actually fuse together. I haven't got this plugged in yet. The problem I got with this, it's only a short cord on it, my plug is in the middle of one wall here. And I need to build an extension cord that I can bring it over to the bench here. My other spot welder got a big long cord on it, so I can go anywhere in the shop with that one, just plugging it into the wall. But this is all you got to do with it, is to do that. Now, where you can use that? Basically in a situation like this here, okay? This is a simulated rocker panel, okay? This would be the outer skin, this would be your inner rocker. Just for argument's sake, say it's a rocker panel off of 62 Rolls Canardly, okay? Now, where you can use them here is, usually you can get at this lip on the car and at the bottom lip on the car. This is the way this will be mounted on the car, okay? And all you do is you bring that welder around and you just fuse it together like that as you're going through the bottom. Then you can do the bottom as well, okay? That's one way you can use it. They're great for putting the rocker panels on or putting quarter panels on. Anywhere there's factory spot welds, majority of the time you could actually fit one of these units in there. Now, in floor pans, internals of a car, wheel welds, everything inside that. If you can't reach in 6 or 8 inches, well, you're not going to get it. But most places look around a trunk lip, basically wheel welds, the bottom of the rockers, the bottom of the quarters, in around the trunk where the trunk welds onto the quarters, all the factory places where usually spot welds on, you can use one of these, right? They're great for that if you're doing full restorations. Small patch repair, you're still going to have to weld the seam if you got something you got to weld up, right? Now, little trick, this is the door off the 62 Rolls Canardly, door skin, okay? I'm going to show you now, this is the inner lip on a door skin. This is the inner structure, this is the outer skin. You can see the way it's all put together here, see? And it's folded over on the lip, you can see it's inside of it. I'm going to show you what I mean here now. Okay, on the Vista Cruiser wagon I got in the shop here, if you look closely here, I cleaned off a spot here. Right here you can see this little spot, okay? When they fold the door skin over, I grinded it off here, you can see the edge of it, it goes down along there, you can see it going right along. They fold it over. They got little spot welds put on it, right here and right here. Now usually you probably just weld the edge of it, or you drill a hole in it, you plug weld it up. I'm going to show you a little trick now for actually welding those little spots using that mechanism. The problem you got with, say, welding a door skin is when you put that in there and you close that down on that there, you're going to be welding it there, plus you're going to be welding it over here. What you need to do is to conduct the metal so that the slider metal welds first. All I do is I take a large piece of plate, okay? And I'll mount that on the back side of that there to use as the guide for the other side. I'll clamp it on, I'll pick that up there, and I'll weld to that. That will weld to that there, and it will weld to this here. But it won't weld to this here. So it will conduct the metal through this here and give us a real nice uniform spot weld on the inside for a door skin, like so. Okay, the first one, I'm just going to do the regular 2 pieces of steel. I have both of them there, just clamped onto the I-beam, right in place. I'm in tight quarters here because we're just going to be plugged in. And all you do is you just pick this up, you open it up like so and lay it over it. And there's a switch on the side of this here. You put it in your spot. You hold it, put a little bit of pressure on it, and then just flick the switch. And let it go. Watch it, that's hot. And then you can see there's a spot weld. Now you got to experiment with this here, okay? Play around with it, your heat settings to see how much heat you want to put in it, and to play around with it, because right now that there seems to be a lot. So I'm going to put a shorter amount of temperature into it and try the other side. I'm letting it go too early. You should always hold it in place for a little while. You can see there, the weld goes right on through. okay, the spot weld. And that works good for that, for doing them type spot welds. And you just clean them up and they'll be fine. You can always do a brake test on them as well. I'm still playing around with this, trying to get used to this machine. It's not as good as the other one. The other one is it's been around a long time. Okay, the next one is the little rocker panel off the Rolls Canardly. Basically what you're going to be doing is basically pinching the bottom lip in the same manner as what we did on the other piece of steel. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm just going to keep playing around now with the heat settings. Put a bit of pressure on it. There's that one. Tight quarters here, so it's tricky. They're awkward to work with. These machines are heavy. I'll put another one right in the middle there now. Yep, the hang of it there now. I'll show you all these over on the bench. Do the same thing now with this side here. Gotta make sure the two metals are together. It's kind of hard. Don't rely on the welder to actually bring the metal together for you. There you got two rocker panels welded together. Okay. Now this is the door skin one. This is the inner lip here, and this is the outside door skin. What it would be like. So all I'm going to do is I'll take a piece of steel like this here, put it on the back side of it, and clamp it in place. Okay. That's all I'm going to do with it. Like so. I'm going to use the same process I did with the other panels. It's just that it's not going to burn the outside of the panel now. Bring that over here, put that in place there, apply pressure. Takes a bit more to conduct the heat through it. Apply a little bit more pressure to it. And as you can see, there's no heat transfer on the other side of the panel, but you got a spot weld here. All your marks are on the piece of plate. So it's great for like putting a door skin on a car, and you want to have a real nice finish on it. So there's each individual one. The spot welds you can see there, way they're done. The back side. Okay. This one here was the door skin one. Back side. And you can see the transfer of heat went into this here. Okay. And the very first one I done, you can see, like, you know, can't be ashamed to show stuff, but you can see how rough it's been. The key with these machines, okay, is you gotta experiment with them a bit before you start the project. Get used to how many seconds you gotta keep it applied for. So you put that down, flick the switch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That type of thing. They recommend that. They recommend that you keep them closed to get a cleaner weld. And I figured that out in a hurry, because this is what happens when you don't. It'll actually splatter, okay? And then you let that go for 5 seconds afterwards, right? Now, this is a 220 unit. The 110 units, I'm willing to say you're going to have to hold it longer than you would for this one here. Now, this is all 18 gauge steel. So it's heavy stuff. It's 18 gauge. That's a piece of 3/16 flat bar, and that's all I used on the back side of that here to hold that in place, so I didn't burn the back side of it. Other than that, I think I got everything covered. I'm going to take one of these now and take it apart and see what it looks like. Cut that up now and run a thing down through it and see how hard it is to break off. Oh, she broke clear. Needs more heat. Now let's apply more heat to this. See what I come up with. I'm not going to use the same spots. I'm going to put next to them. I'm going to put 2 in it. Put a bit of pressure. That's better. And of course I shouldn't be letting go. Let's work on this one here now. This is a new machine to me, so it brings a trial and error. Yeah, there's a lot deeper weld in it there now. Splattering a bit. But a grinder cleaned that up nice. But I think I got a better penetration. Let's go over and take that apart and see what it looks like. So all I did is I applied more heat to it. You can see it there now. You just hit that with a grinder now. That'll clean the top off of that there. But you can see it's a lot nicer looking spot weld now. And you can see the heat range is out farther than the other ones that I did, right? Again, it's all experimental. You play around with it. This is a new machine to me. So, and well, let's put that up in the vise now and see what it's like. There's a happy medium there, trying to figure it out. I'm having fun playing with this stuff. Trying to get the original ones. Yeah. That one there broke. That was one of my first ones. It's this one over here, like. That's a solid one. Usually you can tell when you hit some, right? That's a solid one. So 2 of them are good solid spot welds. Nothing wrong with them. That's it for that fusion welder. There's lots of little tricks out there. I say some of you guys got little techniques and ideas that you could use with these, how to modify them, whatnot. They're great for doing edging, okay? In around edges, something that you can reach in that far with. When it comes to floor pans, putting a floor pan in factory welds in the middle of a panel, they're not any good for that. That's what the other welder's for. And so basically all I can say, they're good little welders. They're all like $100. I paid $130, $140. Sometimes they're like $200. But if you got a lot of, if you're putting together, restoring an old muscle car and you're putting all factory panels on it, end panels, quarter panels, door skins, roof skins, all that type of stuff, this welder will come in handy because you can put a lot of the panels on with this here. And if you're starting like floor pans and stuff like that and quarter sections, you can start from the inside and work your way out. You still use this on some of the inner structure as well. But you know, it's limited to what you can do with it, right? Look at this puppy. This came over on the ark, I think. The story behind this is, when I first went to trade school back in the 80s, we had one of these in trade school. And we used it to weld panels on an old Ford van. And we're talking like 74 Ford van, the scratch quarter panels that for where wheel wells rusted out of them. And this is how they install it with one of these. I always thought it was a cool machine, not for doing that though. And I've always wanted one, and I say 10 years or more now. An old friend of mine who's since passed had this kicking around his collection and told me I could have it. He wasn't sure if it could work or not. And so I went and picked it up, and it was only probably 3-4 months ago that I actually got a chance to find out it works, because I haven't got 220 plug in this garage, and I got it in here now. And I got in just for this particular reason, to get this rig working. Now, the reason why I've always wanted one of these, and I've after doing a lot of Pro Street cars, a lot of hot rods, and done the floors and everything in them, and I've always thought that this here would be really good for putting floor pans in. For like making custom floor pans and joining them together in sections, because I don't do like large floor sections, I do them in small sections at a time, and I figured if you could do them, and I do lap joints the way it was done from factory. And I figured you could spot weld all the joints in between and get real nice welds on them. And this is the whole point of why I got this. And my plan is to use this on Krusty to do the floors in crusty. So I'm going to show you it now and we'll talk about it a bit. It's called a Porter Spot 2001. Control Systems. I don't know what else is wrote there. Windsor Limited. We come up across it. It's got 2 leads on it, and it's got some attachments and everything for this. And if I'm not mistaken, you can put different attachments on it. But I got to modify it so I can just do the spot welds with it. But it's got the welding power. You can adjust your power, how much power you want to add to it. And then basically you can actually your weld time. So you don't have to set it. You could set this one up, unlike the little small one. I can set this up when I figure out what my best timing is. I can actually set this up so that the machine will turn itself off when I reach that time, right? So it's a cycle, it works best kind. Now, all this is 2 leads, okay? There's 1 lead. I'm going to unravel these here and I'll show you. Bring it up on the back. Before I go any further, I just seen this on the back of it, so I'll show it to you. And a few of you could probably, some of you might know these machines very well. But I can tell you, it is old because it is manufactured in Canada. And there's no French on it, okay? Now, we went bilingual with the 2 languages on everything. I think it was in the mid-70s, maybe late 70s, I'm not quite sure. But I know for a fact, so it's older than that. Something tells me it's from the 60s, okay? This machine is from the 60s, but that's all the information on it there. This is the lead, the 220 plug on it. Look at the length of this. And then it wraps around that another dozen times. I'd say I go up and out on the main road up front of the house and well rocker panels on the street out there with this thing. Holy blessed, what a length of a lead. See, my outlet is over there on the wall on the side of the panel over here. And so this one here works perfect. I can run this anywhere in the shop and just run the cord over, plug it in there. But the other little welder just got a little short cord on it. But anyway, it's just a regular 220 unit. Okay, there's the 2 leads side by side. You can see them. All one's a ground, one's a power source. And they actually feed to each other and they both do the same thing. You'll actually lay down 2 spot welds with these here. Now this thing is heavy. That's thick, okay? That's about an inch thick there. And there's the power lead, it goes down the machine and hooks up on the front of it there. But I can tell you, it is heavy and it's only short, the 2 leads on it. That's the reason why the other cord is so long. I got it all unraveled there now on the floor, so. But I'm going to go ahead now and modify this one. Just took attachments that used to go on to that for different items that you can do with it. I think you can actually do like the plug welds for pulling dent pullers and stuff like that. I think you can put on this, but I'm only using it for spot welding. I'm going to modify this one here because I have a new one there as well that I found. And it's interesting, one of the boys, one of the old timers had one for years and years and years floating around in his shop or in his house in a cabinet. And his young fella used to always ask him, "What's that belong to, Dad?" And the funniest thing about it, as soon as I picked it up, I said, "I know what that's belong to. It's one of them leads." Yeah, pretty cool. So I'm going to set this up here now. What I got to do, this is the other one, I'm not going to modify this one. I'm going to cut this down, drill it out, tap it, because I want to put one of these, because these are already available, I can buy these local. I'm going to have that so that taps out, and that'll go down that, and I'm going to round this one off, the same as the other one, and have that so that there fits into there. And then I got 2 spot weld leads. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then I'll show you what I got done. And there it is, all modified and put back in there. So now I can just go locally and buy the tips I need, because Princess Auto has them in stock for that machine there. And now I got, so that basically both of them takes the same tip on this one here. Now I do have another tip if it has issues with this one. This one here, that one here can come out as well, but that's just a solid chunk of brass, looks to be. Focus. I just cleaned the end of it up there now. Let's try this puppy out now. Now I got her plugged in. Let's have a look at our settings here now. We have spot welding, okay? We have metal shrinking, which is a cool feature. And then we got stud welding. So I figured that was the tip that was in it, then I just modified was for the studs, right? And then you got your cycle. You got your timer, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That's the way the cycle works. Goes up around there. Now it's hard to see here. I said seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. That's wrong. I got this is a dial setup, and I wanted to say that each 10 is probably 1 second. Okay, so 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, and then you can actually have like a half a second and a quarter of a second and whatnot set up. So this here was shut off at any particular time. You could set it right up to basically, I'm going to say, actually 10 seconds. I think that'd be pretty high for sure, right? But I'm going to be playing around with this here now, and I'm going to be adding, like when I say I'm going to go to 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, like that. I'm going to be adjusting this up like this, just turning this dial each time I do it, just to show basically how much heat is coming out of it. I'm going to push it past it, and to the point that I'm going to actually burn through the metal. And I'm just going to see what each one does. So I'm going to go like every half second. I'll go a half second, then I'll go 1 second, half second, or 1.5, 2, go up through it like that. The heat ranges over here, I think I'm just going to leave it up on high. Up on the highest one for now, just to see. And if it's too hot, I'll start backing it off. It's 100, and it goes right on back. Now, it tells you the locations where to do certain things. Metal shrinking, stud welding up here, and a lot of that got to do with, so don't burn through. You can also use that same process for spot welding as well. But I'm going to say that you're not going to get good penetration back through these ones here like you would up here on this in between 80 and 100, which basically clearly marks off that it's for spot welding. So I'm just going to leave it at 100, and I'll probably play with it. I'll probably go from between 80 and 100 and see where it goes to. So let's get over there now and start playing around with this. Now the key using this little welder is you got to make sure you get enough penetration, okay? It's very easy to make a spot weld in this here, and as you can see from what we experiment with the other one, is and it'll break clear. So anytime you're doing a project and you want to set up your welder first on some scrap steel. Make sure you're getting the penetration you're happy with on the sheet metal that you're going to use. In the case, this one here is 18 gauge. And I'll play around with this now, and I'll use lower settings, and I'll use really high settings. I got a bunch of scrap steel here to play around with, and I'll see where I'm happy with it, that I'll get the good penetration that I need, okay? Okay, just for the hell of it, I know it's not going to be a very good one. I got it set up on 10 for timer, and I got it up on 100 on the spot welding. So it's up on bust on the spot welding end of it, just to get a reference point to start from. And we'll put a couple of here next to each other. And you can see there's not much going on there, okay? So I can almost tell that that's not even penetrated through. It penetrated a small bit. Just curious to see now how much that went through. Okay. It's starting to go through, so it's not really taking to it. Okay? So we know that one's not much good. So I'm going to go up to 20 on it now. Go all the way up to 20. I leave the other setting alone, and then try this again. I'm not going to put it in the same spot. I'm going to put it above it. I'm trying to make use of all this metal. And that's 20. So, as you can see, it's starting to come through the back side, but it's taking to it. Oh, but I can twist it off. So, that's no good. Okay, let's turn her over here now. Try it on the other side here. And we'll just turn up. We'll go to 30. We'll try 30 at max power. You start to see it coming through there, okay? That one there's holding better. And you can see the heat ranges, the way they change, okay? And I think this is the key to it, to be able to see a lot of heat range out around your spot weld, okay? So I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to go over here and try another one on 40. What I would like to see is this heat range on the back side. So now, only settings I changed is the timer. It's up to 40 now, which is, I wouldn't say it's 4 seconds. Don't seem like it's 4 seconds, but it's on 40. Okay, let's go up to 60. Try another one here, next to it. You really start to go through. I'm wondering if the table is having an effect on it, where the table is steel, and she might be drawing the heat down through that there, which makes it colder on the back side. Let me try block of wood here now. Just for curiosity, use the same settings that I just did. You see on the back side there. But I'm going to put it on a block of wood and try it, so the heat range just changes. Put them down here now. Now you can see I'm burning through now, see? And I'm getting way better penetration. So the table is affecting it. The table is so cold that it's affecting the heat range. And I'm running into issues with it actually burning through now. There's an effect the bench throws into doing this whole thing. So I got this floating here now. I let these two pieces of metal laid above on 2 blocks of wood. I'm not going to weld the wood. I'm just going to weld through it this way. And I turn the welder back down to 10 again. So we're going to do the same process, but we're going to start at 10. Hands over here. Down here, because I know this one's not going to be that hot. And that's that one there. And you can see the heat range from the very first one that I done. You can't even see it there, but up here, it don't even go through. This one here is actually going through. So the table is playing an effect on it, okay? So I'm going to go to 20 now. Try 20. And that's looking a lot better. And I'll try 30. See that? Let's go to 40. Yeah, and that one started to distort everything. But I can guarantee you that one penetrated. So I went back to 35. Let's go back to 35 on one. Seems to be a big difference on all that. Yeah, that's way better. So this is what you see is we got going on here. You can actually see the timing on both of it, what it does for both of it here. Plays a big part on whether it's laid on something cold or on the bench. I'm going to start hammering down through this now to see which ones are strongest. So let's see how strong this is now. I'll get started in behind it. There's the first one. I broke through that with ease. So what's the second one like? Second one I broke through, okay? Let's move on to the next one. There you go. Now we got something that's solid. So if you look in there, I'll show you down inside there. Get you out the light. You actually see the penetration going through it. So that third one is a good spot weld. Okay? So the settings I had here, I had it up on 100 and this was on 30 because that was 10, 20, 30 the way it was. And then I went to 40 and then I went back to 35 here. Okay? And I think that like you can change the range. You could probably turn your heat settings down and then turn your timer up. You can play around with it some more. I'll do that when it comes time to doing my the job that I'm going to do. But this is the type of thing you got to be looking for to make sure you get it. As you can see up here, that's not very good. Okay, so I'll set this up on this here now, and I'll do my next little project here now. We'll set on 3 or 30 and 100. So now that we got our few spot welds figured out, I'm going to talk about what I want to use this machine for. As a lot of you know, if you're new here, check out the videos on it. I'm building a car here as a full-on street strip car, crusty, and I had to make a lot of panel repairs and everything on it. But one thing I want to do is build floors in it. Now, I've done a lot of cars over the years, done floors in them, and I've just done the simple old. I've done basically took 2 pieces of metal, like so, overlapped them and spot welded them down along there, and then I've done them. I drilled out spot welds and I've plug welded them, grinded them flush, done all that type of stuff on different cars over the years. But I want to try it with this spot welder on crusty, so that way I'll have a cleaner weld. A lot of people, when they build floors in cars, they frame it up with some like either angle iron or 3/4 inch square stock or 1 inch square stock, and they frame up their floor and they lay their panels on top of it to give it strength. Factory cars are not built that way. Well, I'm not building a factory car now, mind you, but you think about the floor pans in a factory vehicle. New cars are put together with basically corrugated steel. They bend up steel in shapes and weld it together with spot welds, and it gives it strength. There's no 1 inch square stock or quarter plate or nothing in the car anymore. You might get 16 gauge metal in some of the new cars, but most of the cars now are 22 and 24 gauge metal. And it's the chassis, the floors, the roof, everything's built that way, and it's a strong car. It withstands accidents. It's designed that way. I'm a bodyman by trade, and I was in the collision industry for a lot of years, so I've dealt with damaged cars and how they work and seen how metal folds and what gives it strength and whatnot. So this is what I base my everything off of. If you ever take a piece of metal, okay, I got 2 pieces of metal here. This piece of metal here is just a flat piece of metal, okay? This one here, same piece of metal, but it's got a ridge put in the middle of it. Now you can take your finger and bend that. You can't bend that. That's got strength, okay? Now if you can incorporate this throughout your floor pans, you're going to have strength in your car. Now what I've always done, if you ever size up, I noticed it on a lot of GM cars, especially, and I see it on a lot of stuff, but this is how I figured out. If you ever look at a floor pan, it comes across, and where it joins, it'll step down and come forward this way, and the other floor pan will come back forward and this way, and this is where it'll be spot welded through here in the middle. Now that's over-exaggerated, it's pretty large, okay? Basically what you're looking at is something like this, okay? You can see this here has got a bit of a bend on it, and it's got a bit of strength to it now. And all it is a couple of quick little folds. I'll show you how it does it. And all I'll do is I got a second one here. And basically I'll put 2 of them together like that. And I'll weld 2 of them together. And that will be my joint. Okay? Now that joint there, welded together with them bends in it, gives it strength. This is the way I want to build crusty, with sections like this here. And that's the reason why I want this machine, and I'm doing a video on it, because I want to show you the process of what I'm going to do with it, right? So I'm just going to quickly show you now how I bend up the steel to get this type of effect. It's nothing, you can just see it's just a little small roll on this thing, and it's just 2 quick little bends is all this. All I got is a piece of 18 gauge metal, just a flat piece. This is all how I make these bends. I would have this marked along here now, come in, say 3/4 or an inch or whatever dimension I'd want. And all I'd do is I'd bend it. I'll clamp it in the vise like that, in the brake, and I'll bend it on a 45-degree angle. That's all I'll do with it. I'll take it out. I'd flip it over, push it in, and just pull it out a small bit. Clamp it down tight, and then bring it back up flat. This is what you ends up with. Just a little crease in it, a little low spot in it, like that. Gives lots of strength to the metal. And then you got a spot to spot weld your panels together. So this is all I got done. I got 2 pieces of metal here, and I got it bent up, got the little creases and everything in them, and that will be my spots where I'm going to overlap my panels, okay? So I'm going to turn around and run a spot weld down through these here, make sure that they're fitting tight together. This is where some of the problems runs into that I have. Tweak that a bit. Use the proper body hammer on it. There you go. Some body guys are cringing on me using a ball peen for a body hammer. But anyway, okay, that's the way I got done. This would be the front of the car, the way I would design this here. If you ever look the way they overlap in a car, okay? If the water, dirt, debris, everything passes underneath the car as it drives down the road, this will be the front. It'll pass over. If this was the front, it'll bring up in this edge, okay? And this is where you'll end up getting a lot of rust and everything underneath the car. So usually when you build a car, build these panels, you always build it basically so that it laps from back to front, okay? So that when you're putting it in the car, this will be your front floor pan, this will be your rear floor pan, and this is the way it'll lap in, like this. So all I'm going to do now is I got to set up on the settings that I've experimented with there, and I'm going to come over. Now I got that set up on 100 and on 30, and I'm just going to come across there and put some spot welds in it. Now you can see the way the panel's all put together there, and the way he's all spot weld, the heat's gone down through there. That's why I said you could probably use a bit more heat. You can see this one here, the way it is with these. This one here is a good one, this one here is a good one. These here, so maybe I could probably put it up to, say, 35 and weld the spots in it. But that's the gist of it. There's no using MIG welder. God, that's hot. I got a Hold'em glove. There's no using the MIG wire or anything like that. It's just a simple little setup. And now I got a complete floor pan that's all welded together in one piece. And I'll just clean off the top of that there, and I'll have factory spot welds. And then when you look at it from underneath the car, you will have this type of lip on the go. That'll be underneath the bottom of the car and it'll look factory. Okay, instead of just welded metal. You see a lot of guys welding metal together in cars, and the floor pans kind of like rock up and down, so they reinforce it underneath with this square stock. This is how I want to do it. To me, it looks nice when it's up on a ramp and you're looking at the bottom of the car, and the car got like a full floor pan in it. It hasn't got no bracing underneath it. It's just one of those little things that I played around with over the years. I too did the framing up of steel and put sheet metal in over it. But I've been experimenting and moving forward with the process over the years, and this is what I've come up with, and this is what I want to play around with. So I hope this was helpful enough and you got an understanding, and hopefully it won't be long I'll be back at Krusty and I got to start doing the floors and everything in the car. But between this welder and the other welder, I'm going to use both of these on Krusty. I'll probably make small individual pieces of it. I want to play around with it, and just the thoughts of using a spot welder to build panels. Because most people that you see with them little small uni spotters, this one over here, that one there, most people, you know, they don't really get into detail of what you could use it for. So I like to see if I can build some panels with it and use it in a car. Here's a closer look at it. You see the type of finishes on it. On the back side, you can see like some of these here. These ones down here are good. This one up here is good. These here through the middle here could probably use a bit more heat. And I'm wondering if there's a gap there. No, there's no gap there. And this is why I'm saying you do experimenting with something like this here, because you flip this upside down here, you can see the heat range and where it's held in place. You know that this one here, this heat range, you can see it by the size of the circle, right? Going around it, that is close to these here, okay? But this one here is more like this one up here, right? So that tells me that that one there quite possibly might break, okay? So all I'll probably do is I'll probably step up to the next one, because I know there's lots of penetration there. And I'd soon have more, like here's the one here. If I stepped up to that one there, that's 35 there. That there, it'll probably, these ones here would probably end up being like these ones here then, right? And they'll still be strong if you're going through the middle and you got some that are not getting like full heat penetration. The timer will actually let it time out to the whole point, it'll give it more penetration. But that's basically it for that. Neat little project. I'm going to do now, I'm going to grind that off there and just show you what it looks like finished. Here's what it looks like. I always love the factory spot welds in the car. To me, it always makes the car look original, professionally done, whatnot. I've seen a lot of guys do wheel welds, like welding quarter panels up on cars, and in the wheel welds itself, they make them nice and smooth, but they're supposed to have these little dimples. I like seeing this stuff. It's just, to me, it just tells me the car is not black with filler. That's just one of those things. Being a bodyman for 30 years, you know, and being a sod man, because I've done my fair share of filler work, and I like seeing this type of stuff. It lets me know that the car is in good shape. But that's the process. I think once I gets it ironed out and gets everything figured out where it's going to do, it's going to speed up the process, because I haven't got to worry about drilling holes. I haven't got to worry about running the MIG welder and welding them all up, going around welding them up. Then I haven't got to worry about grinding them off like crazy. I just ran the 24 grit disc over the top of that and it's done. I won't do no more to it than that. Next thing I'll do with that now is I'll just seam seal that seam there like that. And I'll smooth out the seam sealer and it'll flow into all these gaps here, and that's it. In a car, a production car, seam sealer is always put on the inside of the car. The only places that is on the bottom of the car is in the rear wheel wells and usually on the firewall. But the floor pans and everything on the car, you'll always see this stuff, okay? You'll never see like seam seal on the car, on the bottom of the car. That'll be just like that and painted. And that's what I always like to see on the bottom of the car. Anyway, so there you got the two machines. You got something that's new, modern. A lot of the ones that you see online that you buy are based off the same model. It's just that they're sold through different companies. Princess Auto is where I got this one too. And I think the Harbor Freight in the United States has a gray one like it, which is the same machine when you size them up. And it's a pretty good old machine. It's great for what we're going to use it for. And then there's this old one here. I'd love to know the history on this here, when it was made, you know, anybody's ever used them and things they've done with them. It'd be great to hear some stories on it, because it's got a bit of a history here, and like it come from an old body shop that closed in the 80s. That was the story I was told. That's where this one come from, and it hasn't been used since the 80s. So it's pretty cool that I got to use it here today and had a bit of fun with it. So I'll tune all this up and get used to using all this. Like, you know, I had a lot of fun playing around with it. But you know, if you have any questions or any tips or anything on any of this, by all means, leave it in the comments. And I'm going to use these where I can in future projects, namely in Crusty. I want to use that one in Crusty. So I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the tips are good. And until next time. Test, see what this looks like. Test 2, see what this looks like. My head chopped off on this one too. Test 3, see if my head's chopped off on this one. Gotta have the hat in it, right? Test 4, move it back a bit. Now is my head chopped off.